opposition parties in India have realized that they are unable to fight the Modi-led BJP in a direct political contest, because somehow the Modi-led BJP is outsmarting them on every political issue, and they are unable to defeat the BJP in the election in a comprehensive manner. So there are victories here and there in certain states, but they are unable to roll back the march of the BJP. So what they're trying to do is that they're trying to piggy ride on the, let's say, the farmers' protest or the students' protest or different kinds of protests, giving them a more radical edge, pushing them towards the more extreme position, in the hope that these protests will tire the BJP down. So you want to drag the government down into those street fights so that in the long run the government gets delegitimized and they can have a political comeback. Other point is, you have this infiltration of certain radical elements as well. There's no running away from that. So after the Chitambram started the Operation Green Hunt, hunting down the Maoists and the the Naxals changed their strategy. So old Naxal strategy was that you surround the cities, you control the countryside, you surround the cities, and the cities would fall, the old Maoist strategy. But they have realized that that is not working. It has been so many decades, they have been waging war against India since independence, and they have not succeeded. So they changed their strategy in the last decade, and an important component of the strategy was that you now have to expand in the urban areas, right? So you have to have your networks in the urban areas which can channelize the discontent, the common discontent, because there will be always some or the other issue. So there will be always some kind of issues of students, sometimes the issues of Dalits, sometimes the issues of some other community, let's say the Muslims or so on. So their idea is to build up organizational structure in the urban centers so that when these issues come up or they themselves create these issues, so you can push it to the extreme and you drag the state into the street fight. So we have seen this repeatedly. We have seen this in the case of JNU. We have seen this thing in the case of Shaheen Bagh, all these anti-CA protests. Jamia, they started with the right from the Jamia, ended with the Delhi right. And then we are seeing that in the farmers' protest. The idea is very simple. You drag the state down repeatedly into street battles so the state gets delegitimized. And then you can go for the kill. So this is, I'm not saying that these protests are the Naxal protests, don't get me wrong. I'm saying they're also infiltrating, right? They're also, and they infiltrate and then they push for the extreme maximalist position. So given left on their own, these protests will come to some negotiated agreement with the government. But once you have radical elements infiltrating, they will make sure that the agreement becomes more and more elusive. And the third point is also very important, Kamal, is that the distribution of the political power in India favors the villages. So the distribution of the seats in the parliament and the legislature is much higher in the villages than that is warranted by the demographics. And why is that happening? Because our census data are all wrong, right? So the way they define the urban and rural areas is not really a good parameter anymore. So what we are doing is that we are underestimating the urban population, we are overestimating the rural population. Many studies show that the urban population might be as high as 60%, right? So because our data is not capturing the massive rural-urban migration, there are classification errors. So you go in Delhi, I mean, you have lived in Delhi, Kamal, so you know you have this Bir Sarai, Katwadia Sarai, and whatnot Sarai, which are classified not as urban areas or semi-urban areas, which is a fraud because they're in the middle of the cities. They're as urban as the colony next door. So once you take away those classification errors, and you also account for massive migration, so you have people, let's say, living in next to Delhi, let's say Hapur, right? So they have their permanent address in Hapur, but 5 days of a week they're living in Delhi. So basically, the urban population is much higher. At the weekend, they will go back to their home with their family or something. So that is not being captured. So urban demographics is much larger than the rural demographics in India, but the distribution of seat is the opposite, right? So, and that also gives this incentive that you have to win the countryside if you want to win the elections. And once you have that, who is the dominant section in the villages? Is the farmers. Okay? Now remember, the farmers are only 8 to 10% of India's population. And out of that, 80 to 86% farmers are small and marginal farmers. So basically, who is left? The big farmers, the rich farmers, the jamindars. Or in the case of Punjab, Haryana, Western UP, the new farmers which emerged after 70s, the capitalist farmers. So if you want to win elections, you have to go to them, you have to have their support. So you will do everything they will ask, right? This is how the politics is run. Political parties respond to what the voters demand. So these farmers want free electricity, free Bijli Pani, MSP, APMC, fertilizer subsidy, whatnot. And the political parties will give them.
Right.
But this is a reason why we are seeing this kind of, the political support for this kind of irrational, I would say, protests.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.